Okay, my friends, here it is. The Saturday morning live stream here at the, well, actually, we are away today. Today we are in Tennessee with the family we've been doing the consulting with, but now it turns out they are good friends of ours, of course. And so me and Jenny are here, loaded up the gypsy wagon, which is now a gypsy truck, actually. And we are down here getting the fall garden ready, buttoned up. We're getting everything buttoned up. If you watched the last video that I made about the green manure, that is the method that we're going to use again this year. So we are here. They had incredible success this year, and their garden was just really amazing. And even still, the plants are doing really well, and they were happy with it. And so that's a success in my book. That is a huge success. So we are going to sort of replicate what we did last year again. But I do want to say I am using my new iPad. So let me know, and I don't have my microphone with me. I know it's amateur hour, but I am just using the iPad. So let me know how it sounds. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay? So let's see here. Who all is here? Let us see. Serendokach says, got thriving green onions and rosemary and not so happy cayenne plant all in containers. I can grow in ground at the RV park I live, so containers is a must for now. Okay, can't grow in the ground. Not a problem. You know, so when you amend the soil for the year, you should take it out of the containers and make it into like a compost pile and add the amendments in there with that. And then you can, in the springtime, put it back into the pots. That's the best way to do that. So, good morning, Ursula says good morning. I'm excited to see the Viking Tribe tuning in from Tennessee this weekend. Yes, we are here. We are here. Guys, let me know how, okay. Sounds okay, sounds okay. Okay, I know it's not as good as that microphone that we have, but hey, we're gonna have to, the voice is okay, but a little pixelated. I know, the iPad, I'm actually not super, it doesn't have that good of camera as I thought, but hey, it can allow me, I think, to see a lot more comments. So we will see. I've got this little pin here, so we will see as we get into it. So guys, let me know, what is your garden? What is going on right now? What have you done to prepare for the fall and therefore prepare for next year? What are you harvesting at this time? This is a cup of varieties. It is turmeric and ginger, so it's very delicious. And let's see, are you prepping? Says we work with what we have. That's exactly, ultimately that's the truth. And so we have to adjust and adapt. We don't have the ideal setup right now, but on the road this is perfectly fine. So Mobius, what's up my friend? Says parsley, chives, and tarragon. Now what do you do with tarragon? I mean, I know what it's for, but what do you do with tarragon? Because that's one herb that I haven't found extremely useful yet. So let me know. Look guys, I got this Pelican case for that because I just got the iPad and it works really well. It's a nice secure case. And so I'm gonna put it up on this case here. There we go. And so we're more at eye level. So William Slater says, I planted garlic a few days ago, just waiting for the first frost to harvest Brussels sprouts and sunchokes. Yes. Now how do you cook the sunchokes? How do you like to prepare the sunchokes? That is something that I kind of struggle with because I have not had sunchokes prepared in such a way that I desire more sunchokes. You know, so it's always yeah, these are okay. Let us see here. Kim Williams says, still harvesting peppers here, readying the beds for the fall, winter, spring crops. Yes, you are in Tunisia, so I think you will have a year-round growing season. Now, Elizabeth Mabry says, I use tarragon in salad dressing. Okay, good. Eclectic Cabins, planted crimson clover all over the yard and garden beds. Nice, because that is what we're doing here. We just got 80 pounds of the crimson clover. See, if you watched the last video that I made, that is essentially what we're doing again. And yes, we have to actually, believe it or not, we are pulling off all of that coal mine conveyor belt. I know it sounds like insanity, but it's just what we're gonna do. So we're gonna take it all off. We're going to plant the crimson clover, and then we're going to green manure it all again in the springtime. Put the conveyor belt pathways back on, and then replant into that. It just works so good. It's such a good setup for this family. I mean, they got kids and full time. You know, the dad works full time, the mom is full time with the kids, and so it's they don't have time to be out there just weeding the garden all the time, and they don't have the capability or the time to just collect dump truckloads of organic, you know, grass clippings and stuff to use as mulch. So if you watch the video, you will see that's a really good method. I mean, it's a good combination of like ancient type method and using new technology and stuff. So Sherry Fee says, love your information. Thank you. You are very welcome, Sherry. I'm glad you're here. Evil Roy says, still no frost in 6B. Nice. I don't think in Fort Wayne we've had one either. Ursula, let me know. Have we had a frost? Kip Tap, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. First tip of the day. I appreciate that. It says, sunchokes not yet flowering in zone 5B. When did you plant them? Because they typically flower, well, they should have been flowered by now. But you know what? Even if they don't flower, you'll still have more, because they make a little tuber and then they put down a real small runner, kind of like mint, and then it will make another tuber. So there's tons and tons of tubers with these things. Kip Tap says June. Oh wow, okay, that's surprising, but I don't think it's going to matter that much. Cecily Cronin says anaerobic microbes are able to start work deeper in the soil where air is not available. Yes, this is true. This is true. We get a lot of talk about aerobic and anaerobic microbes and stuff like, and what they do for the soil and all of this. When in reality, I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but is that the most of the microorganisms are facultative anaerobes or conditionally aerobic, meaning that they can survive with or without the presence of oxygen. And so the human mind always wants to like dissect it into aerobic or only anaerobic is good or bad, you know, especially if you follow like the Elaine Ingham school of thought, and she's really big, or she was really big, although she's lightening up big time on this now. She was really big on, so anaerobic bad, aerobic good, but it doesn't always work that way. It's not, because most of the microorganisms can do either, can thrive in either. And so we don't have to make the distinction so much. I mean, I've used the anaerobic ferments, I've used the anaerobic compost tea, which is Jadon microbial solution, with great success. But I also utilize aerated compost teas with great success. And so there's so many different methods, and it's all about custom tailoring it to what your specific environment and circumstances allow for. So Kim Williams says, what's frost? Right, she's in Tunisia. Yes, yes. Let's see here. Santos says, update on Thrive Like a Viking. I'm into that side of things. Nice, I'm glad you're there, my friend. We will, yeah, so the Thrive Like a Viking channel, I didn't set it up right when I started it 7 weeks ago, and I would never be able to monetize it. So I actually deleted that channel and just renamed the Nate Muri channel Thrive Like a Viking. So we're going to keep doing the same stuff. It's all about positivity and well-being, the meditations, the spirituality, the cold training, the sauna training, the diet, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. We're still doing exactly the same. We're just picking it back up. So if you just type in Thrive Like a Viking, the channel will come up. And yeah, every Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, we will be doing the live there. So yes, thank you for being there. What's up, Doug, my friend? I hope you're doing well. What are you growing there where you're at right now in the nice, temperate Pacific Northwest? TC says, my first frost was September 11th. Wow, man. Wow. But you are in Alaska, so that will, that's, oh, yeah. I mean, you really got to get growing. You got to get that stuff growing. Stuff that you can store all winter. Potatoes. You know, you could even do sweet potatoes. But yeah, so guys, when I go back to Fort Wayne, then we will be harvesting the sweet potatoes and curing them. And maybe I'll make a short or maybe a full length, I don't know, video about the two genius ways now that I am curing the sweet potatoes. I don't just stick them in the back of the hot car anymore like I did last year. That way is a little bit outdated because it's dependent on the weather. And so now I can wait until right before the frost, which is almost now. I kind of should have harvested them, but we have this, we're doing this. So when I get back, I will harvest the sweet potatoes and cure them with the new methods. I'm pointing with this thing. This little pin is kind of, okay. Doug says things that enjoy cool. Yes, I hope so, because you're not getting that hot. What's up, Rick, my friend? Says hello, Nate from Houston, Texas. When's your first frost in Houston? 8A Gardening and Clay says I saw my sweet potato peeking out of the dirt. Very excited. Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. So it's approaching time. You will pretty much want to, well, 8A, I don't know, but when is your first frost? Because the vines should start, as the vines sense it's starting to get cooler, they will just kind of lose their luster, you know, because they're tropical plants, really. And Brian says down to 35 last night. We had our first freeze advisory here in 6A. Okay, yes. Evil Roy says, my Brunswick cabbage are huge and forming heads. Guys, that Brunswick cabbage, how many of you are growing the Brunswick cabbage? Because I always am recommending that, and that stuff is super delicious, and it's ideal for the sauerkraut, and it stores for a very long time, and it's very cold hardy. I've had the cabbage, the Brunswick, get tons of snow on top of it, and then it's still perfectly fine underneath. It's crazy. It's really. So Stefani says, PA, yes, so good. Nate is a 360-degree human. Oh, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it, all around. I like that. So thank you. Rick says, first frost December 1st. Wow. Yeah, so you do get frost. That's cool. Okay. Graham says, hi, Nate. It's 74 degrees here in Ireland today. That's unheard of for this time of year. It's the unusual gray sky, it's the usual gray sky, but dry. Okay, 74. Yeah, right before I left Fort Wayne, it was blazing hot. It was in the high 80s, full sun, bone dry, just not good. We've had like a drought the past like 6 weeks in Fort Wayne. So, Big West says, today is it. Today is your first frost? Yeah, I think in Fort Wayne, typically we get, technically it's the 9th. It is the 9th. So we will see. But, I got some text from a couple of you guys. But, yeah, so they have some goats here and making goat milk kefir smoothies. Oh man, my fingernails are a mess. Look at that, from digging right into earth. We are building a greenhouse. We are doing all kinds of things because they want to start up. So watch the video that I made. This is the very last video, and that's where we're at. And so we are the next step in the evolution is to create a greenhouse structure so that all of the plants can be started up on site. And that gives you so much more freedom, guys. I mean, buying plants is great. And if that's what you, if you don't want to mess with the infrastructure of seed starting, that's really great. But yeah, sorry, Wayne, I know. I mean, we're kind of far out, so there isn't the best of Wi-Fi, but it's okay. We'll just have to adjust and adapt. But yeah, if you have the capabilities, starting a greenhouse of sorts is really beneficial because it gives you so much more freedom as far as what you want to start up. Because packets of seeds are easy to get, and they're so much cheaper. I mean, last year when I came, we didn't have anything started up, and we were going out, and these plants are like $5 and $8 a piece. For like one cabbage plant, it was like $5 something, almost $6. One cabbage plant. Okay, well, we need 30 of those. And that's it's totally unacceptable. And so in order to combat that, make you a greenhouse area. And that's what we're doing here. And I'll show you, I'll make little clips. I'll probably do some shorts of that, yes. Now, Santosh says, I'm thinking of a cold frame this year. What do you think? Now, here's the thing about greenhouses though, guys. Most people think that with a greenhouse, It is giving them a whole new growing season. They think, I'll grow tomatoes in January. It's not like that. A heated greenhouse that you're pumping heat into, and that you've got electrical, that you've got light coming in, you need supplemental lighting because for those kind of crops, it's a huge ordeal to actually create a new growing season during the wintertime, okay? So for most people and for most plants that aren't like mega cash crops, you know, then it's not worth it. So what you're doing, even with this type of greenhouse, we are extending the season. We are extending the ability to grow things. And in particular here, it is starting up the first run of stuff, which is going to begin in January with the onions and the ginger and the, well, there will be several other things. We got it all listed out. And so then we can plant that out. But then also about July 1st is when all of the fall crop stuff will be started. And so it is wonderful to be able to do it in the controlled environment of the greenhouse. And so that's going to give us a lot more freedom of what we can grow. Now, Santos says, the cold frame, now yes, that is a good idea. But like I said, remember that you can still only start up the cold hardy stuff because the greenhouse will get warm, nice and warm. When the sun's out, it will get nice and hot during the day. But then as soon as the sun goes away, aka nighttime, then the temperature is going to plummet to essentially whatever the ambient temperature is. And so it might be a little bit warmer, especially if you have a heat sink of some kind, if you're putting the black barrels in it, or you have something that can absorb the heat throughout the day and then transfer it slowly in the nighttime. That can be really good. But don't be trying to start up tomatoes and stuff like that if it's still getting below freezing at night. And you have an unheated cold frame, it's not going to work. You're gonna, because if it will dip below and they will die. Creative Soil says, I'm watching your older videos. In my mind, I'm making a small market garden. Anyway, that's my meditation, and I've been making 20-foot rows. All right, sounds good, sounds good. Guys, all the older videos are still totally relevant. The knowledge is still totally relevant. Yes, we're still gaining more knowledge, of course, and we're presenting it in different ways, and because we're doing so many different things all the time, and we're learning every time that we're doing it, and we are experimenting using the past foundation of knowledge to then apply it to the situation that we have now, and we're learning these new things. But all the past videos, all that information still applies. So don't think that because it was a video put out last year that it's not going to apply. It totally does. But yes, we are learning in a non-stop pursuit of knowledge, of course. But it works because once you understand the fundamentals of the growing, then you can apply them in different situations. You can understand, okay, well, this, and this has to happen. And so in order for that to happen, we need to have this and this. But you will adjust it to that situation, to those in particular situations. And let's see, Big West says, I'm deadheading daily and collecting wildflower heads from the McKinsey mixed pack. I'm gonna have lots of calendulas that are tuned to the soil. I am glad I started saving as soon as I gardened. Absolutely, guys, now is the time to be saving seeds. So remember to let them go as long as possible, the seeds, until they're just totally dead. And the calendulas, once you start growing calendulas, guys, you will pretty much never be without calendula. It self-seeds to the point where it could be considered invasive. Ooh. Did something happen with the Wi-Fi in there? Yeah, so look, guys. Yes. Video froze. Yeah, I know. It's going to take a minute to pick back up. It's down. Yeah, I know. We lost a bunch of people. It's okay. But look, guys. They're into canning big time. Making the nice tomatoes. Making the... Ooh, yeah, look what we got here. Nice. Freeze dry, or vacuum sealing the chickens. Were those the roosters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight run.
Yep, straight run. Got a straight run of the chickens, guys, and turns out that 18 of the 21 of them were roosters. And so if you know anything at all about keeping chickens, that's not something you want. And so look here. See, they did the tallow like this. They put up the tomatoes, all kinds of good stuff here. So yeah, I will go back here and sit down and let Jenny, yeah, try not to bump that again, Jenny.
Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, let's see. Where are we at? Yeah, I know. 18 or 19 roosters, that's a huge amount, definitely. And so you want to, you have to cull those. And so that's what they did. And look here, we've got some goat milk kefir with banana, with I think peanut butter is in it. I mean, she made a smoothie. It's really nice. Jenny, someone says we knew it was Jenny's fault.
Of course.
Yeah. You can always count on it. You can pretty much count on it. So let's see, what else you guys got going on? What do you want to know? What is everybody doing in their garden? And PA says, I'm Belgian, living in Portugal. Funny, I lived together for 2.5 years with a girl named Gonzalez. Yes, you guys having your good side conversations. I like it. That guy Chris says, if it's a rooster, you must have all roosters, 0 hens. If it's roosters, you must have all roosters, 0 hens. No, we have I mean, ideally you want hens because they're the ones that produce. And so Wayne says, hold down your shift key and hit the reload button in the browser. Nice. Let us see here. Hello, Taida. William Slater. I have bread rising right now. That's what I like to hear. Stefani says, seaweed. Sounds like a good plan. I'm thinking of removing the customized cheap greenhouse and putting more gardens in the open. Yes, good idea. Where are you at? What zone, Stefani? And yes, thank you, TC. Experiencing technical difficulties, will be back. Yes, we were. So we are back now. No problem. Tara says, funny how this seems to happen during lives, not just on this channel, whenever people are speaking truth. Oh yeah, I know. Well, that just talk about that, the whole channel in general, is I'm getting the feeling that they're not really, the algo is not really appreciating spreading knowledge about self-sufficiency and ancient skills, especially food growing, because food growing is, it could be said that food growing is the most important thing that the human being can do, because, well, just things get real different real fast when the food runs out. And we have a nice orderly society, everything, the laws, everybody abides by the laws, and everybody, you know, does their part and stuff for the most part. But if you cut off the food supply, watch how fast that deteriorates. Yeah, and even if you haven't experienced that, you can just tell from life, from traveling all over in different parts of the world. I've seen how people act differently, how things are just different. Where there's any type of food scarcity, things are different. And so, yes, that is, yeah, Eclectic Cabin, yes, you're right on. They definitely are. Douglas says, we must take responsibility for keeping up with those that help us. We cannot rely on any application for this. I like that, yes. I like that. Yes, Are You Prepping says, bingo, we're on to the algo, I got you. Hello, can I plant garlic now in Indiana? Cheyenne, yes, you can. It's actually a little bit early. Why don't you hold off? Because it's still plenty warm. See, when you're planting garlic, here's the main thing. You want it to sprout and to grow roots and a little bit of shoot, but that's it. You don't want it to grow super. If you plant it now and we still have like a month and a half there of hot weather, you run the risk of it, and I've had this happen, to where if it grows too big and then a hard winter comes, that part that is green will actually act like a wick. If you don't have enough moisture in there, or a mulch, it will actually act like a wick and desiccate the, if we get a hot or a cold, dry, windy winter, it will like wick all the moisture out of the clove of the garlic. It'll desiccate it. And so I've had that happen. So for that reason, you don't want to plant it too early, But you'll be good now. You can plant anytime between now. Generally, I say in Indiana between Thanksgiving and Halloween. But that's mostly because we still have things in the ground in that area. So if you don't have anything in the ground, yeah, you could plant it. We're going to plant it here. We're going to plant a whole batch of garlic here in the next few days. Guys, I've been loving that kefir. It's so incredible. So Kim Williams says 6 years of drought. If we don't have good rain here this year, things will get interesting. 6 years of drought. What do you mean by drought? You mean no rain? Or just like very, very little rain? And busy girl, anything that's information always seems to have problems now. Yeah, tell me about it. I know. I feel it with, channels can get shadow banned. And what that means is just kind of not promoted by the algorithm. I'm sure if I was doing little blippy entertainment things that, consume this and, entertainment, all that, I'm sure those are the type of videos that tend to get promoted a lot more, But it's okay, because you guys are here, we are here. So we're not worried really about that, because we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing. And Papa McMuffin, is that really your last name? $5, thank you very much, my friend. Says, is there a way to use the things we make in deep water culture? I'm doing basil in an amber glass mason jar with a mini air pump. Water change often. Yeah, so, okay, if you have the air pump, it sort of changes things a bit, because you can keep it from going rancid a little bit longer. But typically, because we just don't have the power of the soil food web, the soil food web is what makes the nutrients available to the plants. And so really the things that you use in any type of hydroponic or aeroponics is need to be in a certain format, because you don't have that process of the soil food web. And so what happens a lot of times, and I tried it in the beginning of all of this stuff, and I always had the reservoirs going rancid and things just overgrowing with pathogenic stuff and slime all over and rotting out. So I don't know. You will have to experiment with that and report back. So the Jen says, just harvested sweet potatoes here in Florida. I got a batch this year in 9B, growing gray squash, cherry tomato peppers for fall crop, for winter by seed, lettuce, collard, kale, and broccoli. Nice. Yeah, in Florida, you guys have a totally different growing situation. Totally different, that's for sure. But sounds good. Sweet potatoes should grow really well in Florida. That guy Chris says, bust the algo with a thumbs up. That's right, my friends. Let's do the thumbs up. Let's see, we're gonna look at, I think, the Dave's Pharmacy says, Nate, found another bathtub for my worm composting fishing bait, and 2 more kids sand turtles with tops for leaf mold. One for JLS, probably mean JLF. Leaf biochar cure over the winter. Okay, nice. That's going to be really good. Dave's Pharmacy, I like that. And then it says the JDOM stuff is the way. Yes, definitely. Works really well. And VA Green says, make sure you guys check your stores. I was able to get 40 bags of potting soil to fill the bottom half of my 100-gallon pots for $1 a bag. Many places put them on clearance. That is a score. Definitely do that. Now, if you guys are wanting to grow the microgreens and the wheatgrass and stuff indoors this winter, which we will be doing, and I'll make a couple videos about it, it's good to utilize, you can utilize that store-bought kind of soil if you want. It just, especially if you're beginning, it eliminates so many of the problems that you might experience, that you will experience with trying to do things like using garden soil or compost, which is great ultimately once your system is down. but you can tend to get a lot of insects and molds and stuff and mildews and damping off utilizing outside stuff inside. So if you want to ensure another level of success, another level of insurance is to you can get some bags of the soil and then get some worm castings. This works really well for the indoor, the microgreens and the wheatgrass. So we will just take the bag soil like a Fox Farm or the Black Gold or those kind of things, the ocean floor or forest floor, I forget the name of it. And we can add in worm castings with that. So if you have a peat-based growing medium, because it's not soil, remember it's soilless growing medium. If you have a peat-based medium, you can add the worm castings, and that is enough nutrients for like the microgreens and the wheatgrass and stuff like that, and seed starting. Now you'll hear a lot of people say, well, the seed for microgreens, and they'll say, well, the seed contains all the nutrients that the plant needs, and they'll try and grow them just without any type of nutrient solution. And that's possible, but my experience is that if you do add nutrients like the worm castings that are already broken down and in a very good form to easily be used by plants, then you will have better success. They will be richer, darker in color, and deeper in flavor. Yes, so that's what I do. Dave's Pharmacy said, to me, it is too much work not using soil. Yes, too much work. And the hydroponics and all of that, oh, it can all be, yeah, it depends. I would only recommend hydroponics type stuff if you need to, if you have to for some reason. If you're like in an apartment in New York or something and you need to grow spinaches or lettuces, or shijimisa would be the one I would grow, in hydro towers for some reason, then that would make sense. But if you have the capability to grow in the earth, always grow in the earth. The plants love the earth. And they want it. They just thrive better in the earth than they do even in containers. So in the earth is your first option. Then in slightly raised beds would be the second option, which is still kind of in the earth. And then in pots / totally raised beds, then that would be your next option. And then hydroponics would be your last option. But if it's either hydro stuff or don't grow, then the choice is obvious. You grow, of course. Eclectic Cabin says, Nate, what do you do about fungus gnats? I have my fall crop started in my little greenhouse, and I've noticed some fungus gnats eating the roots. The main thing that you have to do is to eliminate the food source of them. So if there is no fungus, so you have to cure the fungus. That's the thing. And you can do that in a number of ways. If you've already got a bad infestation of them, sprinkling cinnamon can really help. Sprinkling cinnamon on the top of the surface, but first you would want to utilize the Jadam wetting agent if you've made that. If you haven't made that, then you can utilize a peppermint Dr. Bronner's start at about an ounce a gallon of water, and water the plants with it, and that will kill off the gnats and their larvae, and that will help to kill off the fungus. And then you can sprinkle cinnamon over it. Also, I have had success with, if you have aloe vera, you can take and put it into a blender and then just cover the aloe enough with water to cover it, and then blend it up. And you can add that. That is a very natural way to do it. But that's not a guaranteed solution. That's more of a preventative. So that's what I would do. I would add the Castile soap, either the wetting agent or the Bronner's, and then once that's done, then some cinnamon. Now, some people have said peroxide, and yes, this can work. This can work, but you want to make sure that you don't burn the plants with that peroxide, guys. It can be tough. So I would do it like I just recommended first. And then also you have to keep the conditions for the fungus from coming back. So you have to get the airflow happening, and you have to get the warmth happening. And so, okay, you have both. You have aloe and Dr. Bronner's. So I would do the Dr. Bronner's first, and that's gonna like help to cure the things. And then that is going to, and even if you had some essential oil, like some thyme or oregano essential oil, that has also worked for me. Very good. So you put a few drops, 4, 5, 10 drops even, depending on the brand and the type and stuff, of thyme or oregano essential oil. Mix that up and then water in with that, and that is a good deterrent. But then you're going to want to, so once they're kind of cured like that, then you're going to want to make the conditions such that they don't return. You're going to want to increase the temperature of the soil, either with the heat mat or whatever it is. You're going to want to increase the airflow and probably generally lightly decrease the amount of watering so that you're not getting the fungus. That's primary. It's preventative. Yes, William Slater says, got to finish my bread and go buy cat food. I'll have to watch the rest later. Have a good day. Yes, my friend, we'll see you next time. Stefani said, mosquito bits and dunks for the fountains. Okay, so mosquito dunks. Yes, I've heard these work as well. So, Scott Miller, Jadon does not prescribe to aerate grows, but there are aquifers and groundwater in nature. Yeah, and that is, why all these gardening philosophies, guys, they're not gospel. It's not religious. I mean, we don't just 100% say, well, J-Dom, we're only doing J-Dom, or we're only doing Dr. Elaine Ingham soil food web gardening, and because I took a course that I'm a, blah, blah, blah. No, we don't do just, we don't have to get stuck and entrenched in just one school of thought. We can learn all of these different schools of thought. Yes, the Elaine Ingham type, the J-Dom type, just every type that there is, over the years. And then we can utilize what we want, the Korean natural farming, also just experimenting, and what I would call the Humboldt type growing, the Humboldt type organic growing, which was lots of aerated compost teas of certain varieties and certain practices. So all of that stuff, and then we can pick and choose based upon our scenario. So yes, J-Dom doesn't talk about ever aerating and stuff, and that's fine, and it works that way as well. But it has pros and cons. The J-Dom can be really off-putting to a lot of people, as we've talked about before. It can be very off-putting, especially like when I did the consulting trip to DePaul University. And I was talking with the students, we were getting this big garden whipped into shape. And I was talking to the students, and they were like, yeah, so we would like this to be, because I was asking them, hey guys, what do you have, what do you see? What is your vision for all of this? And they were like, well, we would like it to be a place where people could, students could come and they could volunteer for an hour or two and get their hands in the earth, and then, go home with a little bit of produce and stuff, and then go back to class and all of that. And it was wonderful because the students were really participative. They were into it, which is great, and they're sharp. These students were very sharp. And so I was hearing that, and then I was thinking because I went down there like, yeah, we're going to get them all set up with the J-Dom stuff. But then after I was hearing all of that, I was like, okay, we got to pivot, because there's absolutely no way that they're going to come and work with the J-Dom input and then go back to class, because they will smell, the first time one of them gets that on them, they will never come back to the farm. Because they're not farmers, they're just trying it out. They're students, and so they would go back to music class or something, and they would just be and they would just have this putrid stench of death all over them, and it wouldn't come out for days. So that is not going to help people to want to be there, and so that's why I was like, okay, we're going to pivot, and we're just going to go with the aerated compost stuff, which also works really well, but there's no smell to it. And so that is what we're going to use, because we need it to be welcoming and inviting to people. And they've had wonderful success this year. They were showing me, they've had wonderful success. Boatloads of produce, very low weed pressure, because we were using the plastic sheeting method, basically like the last video that I showed, except on a totally different scale. And with different techniques. Same, but different. You know what I mean? So, let's see here. Whoops. I don't know what this thing does. Lisa T says, fungus gnats with plants indoors. Mulch the soil and gnat eggs can't hatch in the environment. Gnat trap here and there to give immediate heads up on looming problem. Yes, yes. Fungus gnats, yeah. So the, Yep, that works. And you can make a trap for, for fruit flies, which I don't think they're the exact same thing as fungus gnats. No, they're not the same as fungus gnats. But for fruit flies, you can make the traps out of just the vinegar, and I use apple cider vinegar and a little bit of dish soap, and that works really well, especially around harvest time when you're processing a lot of tomatoes and stuff, and you can't get to them all, and so there's just fungus or fruit flies all over the place. Remove the produce, put that little trap there, and they just go in there and all drown. Like overnight, you look in there, there'll be hundreds of them. It's really nice. Yep, look, VA Green says, a mason jar with 1 part water and 1 part apple vinegar, some sugar, and a few drops of dish soap. Yes, I have not put the sugar in there, but yeah, definitely. Signal Loss says, society teaches us pick something to follow instead of evaluate each thing and use if it's right for your situation, or modify it or don't use it. Yes, exactly. We are definitely conditioned to, just pick it and follow that thing, instead of learning and discovering for yourself. But in order to do that, you have to understand the fundamentals, which is very important. And so, that's very true. Very true. PA says, I just bought Nigel Palmer's book, The Regenerative Grower's Guide to a Garden Amendments. It's a pretty good book. I like it. Definitely. And Terra Firma says, I also found that bottom watering with a tray helps to prevent the fungus from forming. Definitely. That pretty much, that would almost go without saying, in my opinion. Always I bottom water. Indoors especially, you bottom water. Stefani says, will my garden stink when I use the J-Dom? No, it will not. Because once you dilute this stuff and you get it into the soil, it's not going to, the odor completely transforms. And so it might for a little bit, but you really don't smell much, right? And so the stuff really only smells when you get it on your fingers in its concentrated form. Then it can be very potent. So, yeah. Yep. Scott Miller says, but the results, wow. But I use common sense. Use what I like, what works, what is tolerable, and toss the rest. Yeah, definitely. It's also good to practice certain things. It's also good to practice the things so that you have that skill and you have that understanding of it, so when you might need it at some point. This is very useful. Wayne Caroli says, ginger? ? What about it? Man, my ginger just grew out of control. The stuff that survived. Because remember, I transplanted both batches, and one batch I was way overzealous and I just kind of put it out there and it got full blast sun and it cooked it. And so it really, pretty much everything was burnt and it had to like regrow from that. But the other ginger that was in, I would say 70% full shade. It got maybe a little bit of full sun throughout the day, an hour or two, but other than that, it was in full shade. That one is done crazy. It's super, I'll make a video about it. It's like 3 feet tall, super bushy. The rhizomes are bursting out of the ground. There's gonna be so much, because when we go back, we've got to make the kimchi, and this is gonna be awesome. You got something to say? You got something to say now?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I got something to say.
Well, at least you're not bumping the...
Well, that's the funny thing I was going to say is...
You have to speak up because there's no mic.
Yeah. So I was sitting there in Jenny fashion going, what a great life I have. I'm painting. I'm at this farm. I'm listening to Nate in the other room. And this is what we always wanted for you. And, I'm thinking, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then
boom.
I'm
Oh,
like,
no.
oh my God.
And I was like, what'd you do? Like, oh, wait. I can unplug it in an instant.
Yeah, so... Sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. I think a few people on here said you're forgiven, so
Thank you.
that's good. They'll
Thank
forgive
you.
you. I never will.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the other part is he needs something to like, constantly bring up.
Right, definitely.
Oh, this is a way better setup.
It is,
To see all the comments.
It is to see the comments. It's much better. I was hoping it would work like this, so
Yeah.
I have to get used to it. They disappear so fast though, but
Still?
no, but it's different though. There's also not
Busy girl.
Hello, busy girl. Yes, hello. Taida said hello as well.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll
Hello.
hook up with her.
Yeah,
some
definitely.
point.
So Jason Hetty says, "What's up, y'all? Got here just finished picking up the last of my good mother stallards. Nice. Yeah, guys, we're gonna be harvesting a boatload of them because we did 2 rows. So we put down the we put down the coal mine conveyor belt on both sides, and then we just left like an 8-inch gap in between, and then we put the trellis with T-post right in that gap, and then we just planted right there. So it was really nice, and it worked well. And they climbed up there, and we're gonna have a bunch. I brought my pea and bean sheller, so I'll make a little video showing you guys about that.
Okay.
Jenny's gonna be helping doing that.
Yeah.
So Jenny, how much stuff have you been harvesting from your garden?
So I'm getting a lot of painting done
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah. That was a pivot.
Well, as fast as I can eat things, that's what's coming out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's kind of what happens though when you're not prepared for the amount of harvest.
As
Is that
my life would have it, though, a group
Right.
of monks are staying at my house.
right? And so they'll
And
do
they're
the
gonna
harvesting.
harvest for me this.
Thank you. Yeah.
See?
Good. So it all works out. I knew that was your intention from the beginning.
I think I'm gonna.
So, whoops.
I think I don't need to be here with you right now, but I just wanted to say
Right.
that was the funny part about that.
PA says, "Hi Jenny. Tell Nate to learn to let go of things."
Yeah. Well, you all could assist on this.
Yeah. Well, just so we're all clear, that's a joke, completely, because I'm the ultimate at letting it go.
Live in the now.
Yeah. It just flows right
It
through
just,
me.
but it somehow
just
flows
flows.
back every now and
It
again.
flows right
He
through
lets
me.
it go, but
Sometimes there's a whirlpool.
it hangs out up here and he accesses it.
Yeah. Well, it's all here now. It's all the now.
It's on the now.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teats and treats. It's okay. I still blame Nate. Come on, guys. Yeah.
That's
I
right.
was expecting some backup here. Kip
No.
Tap. Jenny's the perfect candidate for 3 sisters. True. Yeah. That's very true. The 3 sisters method of gardening.
Yeah,
You know?
you've talked to me about
Yeah,
it, but
I've
we
talked to you
haven't
about that,
done
yeah.
it yet.
That is really actually a good idea. Then you don't have to harvest anything until it's all dead and done. And it's dried beans, dried corn, and a winter squash.
Yeah, because that's what I did. I mean, I didn't harvest my dried beans last year until like January. I just went out and we had a warm January-ish for Indiana, and I just went out and grabbed everything and yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
definitely. And that's a good point. That's the thing that you can do. So you can harvest the beans as you need them. You can just leave them out there, and they will get a little bit. They'll look like mildewy and moldy, but you can still you can just leave them out there until you need them and go and get one
Yeah.
meal worth at a time. It does work that way. It's not the ideal way, but some people have to do it that way. So it works definitely. But here we're gonna harvest them all, put them through the sheller, and then make sure they're nice and bone dry. And then we're gonna store those. It's better to store it that way.
I want a comparison of how much we start with and what we end up with too on the bean.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's crazy. There's
Yeah.
3 big giant totes of beans out there, but
Right.
it'll like condense.
It'll be like half a 5-gallon bucket.
Probably.
So the
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
yeah.
and let you guys get to it.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
she's
Bye.
painting Yep. So there you go, guys. And Scott Miller says, "Totally dead. Don't start that again." Ooh, start what? Signal Loss says, "Corn doesn't do well for me, so I was thinking of using sunflowers instead." Well, that's possible, yes, but what I would actually do is figure out how to grow the corn instead. I would not just say, well, corn doesn't do well for me, because there's nothing inherently wrong with you as a being that corn isn't going to grow for you. So what I would do instead is say, okay, well, I haven't had success thus far, but I'm going to this next season. And the way that I will do that is I will give the corn everything it needs to thrive, meaning lots of nutrients and nitrogen. Corn is in the grass family, and so it grows really well with lots of nitro. Wood ash, it also loves that for everything else. And then you can grow the corn, definitely. And so that is the way to go, because glass gem corn works really well. So you have to grow the right varieties as well. So if you grow glass gem corn with good Mother Stollard beans and like a Tahitian melon squash or a butternut squash, that's going to be the ideal combination. So, but yeah, people can use sunflowers, but sunflowers don't give you nearly as much food energy as the corn. Wait till you see we harvest. We're going to be shucking a bunch of corn, glass gem corn, and we're taking some back with us. I was counting on it because I knew how much was here. And it's going to make several 5-gallon buckets of corn, which will then become cornmeal and all the other good stuff. That for corn grits, I love some good corn grits in the middle of winter. With a bunch of that raw butter and the raw cream. Oh man, I really can't wait for winter. It's going to be so nice, guys. It's so nice. And like I said, if you're in the Fort Wayne area and you guys want to do a class with me in person, I'm offering 3 classes this winter of 5 weeks each. It'll be either a Monday class or a Thursday class starting from 6 to 8 p.m. I will guide you through the breath work, the Wim Hof method breath work, and then we will go into the sauna, and then I will take you individually into the ice bath so that you can, and I'll guide you through the ice bath as well. So if you're interested, then hit me up and I can tell you how to sign up for that. But that's only if you're in the 46807 area, you know, or you can get there once a week for 5 weeks. So Aram says, guys, if you buy seeds and don't get good results, do not get disappointed. Harvest and save some seeds for the coming year and you will get surprised. Also, choosing the right variety is important. Yes, good advice right there. Stefani says, has everyone liked this chat? Yes, I hope so. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to see. Scott Miller says, Nate saying the phrase totally dead 20 or 30 times? Question mark? Oh, nice. 20 or 30 times, that might be a exaggeration, but yeah. Well, because there's dead and then there's totally dead, which is different. Jay Bremer says, been watching some Wim Hof YouTube videos, interesting stuff. Yes, we get into this on the Thrive Like a Viking channel. We're getting into all of that as much as we can virtually. In person would be the best, for sure. And the school that we will be developing over the next coming years is going to offer this big time. It's going to have lots of this is a foundation to thriving. The breath work, the sauna, the ice bath, the growing the food, all of that, the mindset, that all is part of it. It's a holistic approach to absolutely just thriving in life, which every single one of you can do because that is your birthright. The human being is designed to thrive. Most of us are just surviving. But by doing certain things and not doing certain other things, you can unlock your inherent ability to just feel good, and positive and full of just well-being and light. It's doable to every single one of you. So Wayne Carrilli says he did say putrid stench of death. And how descriptive is that? I mean, come on. And that is the thing with the J down. Oh my goodness. Yeah. When I first moved back into the city from the mountains, I had to move back into the city and I was making the J-Dom stuff in the way that we did in the mountains. And we didn't have super tight fitting lids. We were making these in massive barrels that just kind of had some open air. And when you're in the mountains, it doesn't affect you as much because when you're homesteading, there's all kinds of gnarly smells. You got animals around and there's manures and there's ferments and there's just stuff rotting and there's just all kinds of different gnarly smells. It's just part of it. There's also beautiful smells. There's the mountain air and the pines and the flowers and the peach trees, all this kind of stuff. But so you just accept all of it. But then when you come back to like a city environment, people aren't accustomed to that stench. People aren't accustomed to all that stuff, and they call it, instead of just a smell or a fragrance, they call it like a stench or an odor. You know what I mean? So I came back in and I was doing those same type of Jadam things in like open containers, and the whole block was smelling like the putrid stench of death because it was just leaking out. And my neighbors, I know they were like, you know, but they weren't really saying anything to me, but I know they were smelling it. I mean, you would catch the whiff in the wind, and whoa, boy, it would make your eyes water. So yeah, I was like, well, now all of a sudden I notice how bad it smells. I never even noticed it when I was in the mountains. It's just different. Yeah. So that's why I was like, okay, well, I'm going to kind of mostly switch to the aerated compost teas and stuff like that because there's no smell. But mix, yes, once you get accustomed to it, it all smells beautiful. Definitely. That's what it's about. It all just smells, to me, it just smells like growth, like earth, like nourishment, you know, like soil, biology, nutrition. That's what it smells like. It doesn't smell like, ugh, that smells gross. Yeah, that's mostly just people that aren't accustomed to it. Definitely. And I'm saying the putrid stench of death kind of comically, but kind of not, you know. Outside in Georgia said, I've heard all minerals are in the soil everywhere, even in the Amazon, but they get washed away. But we just need to add life in the soil to make it available. You agree mineral supplements unneeded? Yes, I do. Definitely. For now, there is pretty much, especially in clay, there is King Dodo or King Dolo. Yes, that is what was happening there, and for years. And the minerals are in the clay already. Clay is full of minerals, and so it just doesn't have the life in it. But here's the thing: the clay doesn't have the life in it because it isn't, the environment isn't suitable to the cultivation of the life. Do you understand what I mean? So in order to get the life into the clay, you have to aerate it, meaning you have to get the living roots in there. You have to get the organic matter in there. So it's not just about adding a nutrient solute or a biological solution. It's not just about dumping compost tea or Jadam microbial solution on it, and now all of a sudden they're going to unlock all the nutrients in the soil, in the clay. No, it's about you have to create the conditions where microorganisms can thrive. That's the key. And so yes, if you create the conditions where the microorganisms can thrive, virtually any of the soils are going to have plenty of nourishment in it. And so, yeah, that is true, but it's not just like, well, all you got to do is just add the biology. No, because the biology can't be sustained in the compacted clay soil with a hard pan and with no organic matter in it that hasn't seen a living root in the ground in years or something like that, you know? So, because that's not going to sustain the life. So you have to back it up and you have to say, well, how can we sustain the life? Say, Wayne says, if you quit smoking, your sense of smell may have heightened. That's true. And I did. Yeah, God, can you guys imagine that in a previous life, I mean, which is actually this life, but for all intents and purposes, a previous life, I used to smoke Lucky Strikes. I used to smoke Lucky Strike cigarettes. Yeah, the little square pack, the soft pack, unfiltered. Yeah, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. It just went with the lifestyle. I just felt, I don't know, just, who knows? You know, I was just lost. I was lost back then. So yeah, definitely the sense of smell has heightened. I've always had a good sense of smell, but yes, I have actually trained my sense of smell now. Purposely trained it because I'm so into essential oils and stuff and scent, because I have a great sense of smell, that I have trained it, you know, purposely to smell out, you know, the smallest little nuance of things with the essential oils. I've done actual training exercises, you know, for the olfactory senses. Mick says, I did too. Lucky Strikes. I know, man. I know. We're a dying breed. Yeah, literally. But I'm very happy. It's been 6 years since any of that kind of stuff, and I just couldn't be. I mean, every day I feel healthier and happier and everything. It just is fantastic. There's absolutely no compare. And it's not just what the smoking does to you as far as like what it does to your lungs and all that stuff. and just the poor transportation of oxygen, and your skin starts to, you get hard lines under your eyes and stuff, and hard lines in your face. It's not just that, it's what it does to the mind. It creating the little, oh, I need a little fix, I need my little fix, you know, and so, oh, okay, and then you boom. It's just a boom bust cycle. What it does to the psyche of needing that little fix is not healthy or pleasurable. So that is a wonderful thing to be out of life. Scorpio 1969, $50. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate the contribution. Big tipper. Smoking poblano, red jalapeno, and Hungarian peppers. Fort Wayne. You're in Fort Wayne. I didn't know that. Nice. Well, wonderful. That sounds good. So thank you, my friend. And smoking the poblanos, guys, if you can just believe me. I mean, how many of you have done that? I mean, you've watched the video I made last year or in the spring, and the way that I do it, I smoke them things for like 10 hours, give or take, 7-10 hours with chunks of oak wood. Oh, it's so good. And I make the snake all the way around the Weber kettle, you know, and that lasts a long time. And then I just put huge blocks. I don't like wood chips, but I put huge blocks of ice or of oak along the way, and it just gets that smoke flavored in there to the point where it's just unbelievable. And I leave them whole, and then put them into mason jars once they're dehydrated, and then as I need them, pretty much grind them up. Then it keeps the flavor the fullest. So a lot of people want to dehydrate stuff and then grind it all up right away, but you only want to grind up what you're going to utilize in the next 2 weeks to a month, because it oxidizes so fast the flavor goes away. So keep the poblanos and the red jalapeno, keep them whole until you need them. Yes, yes. Hey, Ram says, I'm glad that never smoked anything. Yes, you can be glad, definitely. But, you know, I can say that my body has made a 100% recovery. I mean, I was only smoking for like 4 years. 4 years really of like being a smoker, you know. But even then, I was noticing all kinds of effects in my. But then through the breathing exercises, the Wim Hof method, and all that kind of stuff, and I've been trained, you know, all the training and stuff, 110% recovery, you know, from all of that for sure. Now I have very strong lung power. TC says, the fish fertilizer is rank smelling if you get any on you, and it soaks in. I couldn't get it off. I washed with lemon juice, vinegar, Dawn. It stays with you all day. Preparing the fertilizer for winter. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But you know what? The fish fertilizer is actually one that actually becomes nice smelling. So long as the protein, the nitrogen and stuff is still being decomposed, it's going to smell rank. Real rank, like death. But then after that, it turns into, it mellows out totally. So yeah. And I'm going to show you guys, hopefully, me and Rusty Reed, the Turtle Man, next Sunday are going to go spearing the invasive carp in the Eel River. And so hopefully we'll get a bunch of these carp, and I'll show you guys how to make the K&F fish, the FAA, fish amino acids, which in my opinion is really one of the best. That is really one of the best. JDOM is the easiest and the quickest fish fertilizer, really, or the fish hydrolysate, but the fish amino acids gives you a rich, oily product that is really nice and concentrated. So I will show you guys how to make that, and we'll make it in the fall now because we want to let it digest all winter. It's going to have to digest inside all winter. So just a heads up. Outside in Georgia says, can fungal hyphae build soil similar to plant roots? By the way, looking forward to the bucket mushroom growing video. Oh yeah, they're all growing right now, and so I will be getting that out to you guys before too long. The mushrooms are going to be awesome this year. And what was the question again? Can fungal hyphae build soil similar to plant roots? No, it's not similar to plant roots in the sense that the hyphae itself cannot capture the sunlight and combine the elements and capture carbon out of the air and pump it into the soil in the form of root exudates and other things. No, it can't do that. Only a plant can do that. And the fungi work opposite. They're like the inverse of plants in many ways. And so the plant will absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. The fungi absorbs oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. But the hyphae, but it works in symbiosis. So when you have the living root in the ground, the fungal hyphae, in particular mycorrhizal fungal hyphae, is what it's like a super highway for transporting nutrients. And so the roots of the plants formulate relationships with the fungal hyphae that is in the soil, and they create new relationships, and it's a symbiosis. The plant feeds the hyphae, and the hyphae transports back different nutrients. It's incredible. It's mind-blowing, really. When you understand it in its wholeness, it's just, whoa, what? How is that? I mean, nothing that, not even our greatest technology can even scratch the surface of something like that. So, fungi hooks to the root, either around it, entering its cells. That's right. There's the endo and the ecto mycorrhizal. And so, if some of it goes inside through the roots, and some of it stays around the roots. But you don't need to know all that in order to utilize. What you need to know is that only a living root in the ground has the capability to build soil, because that's the only thing that can capture the carbon and that can pump it into the earth. And so, yes, that's the main advantage of the cover crop. So, welcome to the truth. Says 1 tablespoon of salt per cup of water is pretty salty for fermentation, in my opinion. Yes, but it gives the most consistent results, and you're not actually really eating a lot of that salt, and salt isn't really bad for you, or it's not bad for you anyways, not even remotely. And so it's not a problem. I mean, I don't have any problem at all with salt in the ferments. And you can try and use less salt, but you will have an increase. The less salt you use, the higher increase of spoilage you have. That's just the way it goes. And so, Shaynette, when I start onions from seed in Indiana, need P.O. box number. Okay, when can I start onions from seed in Indiana? Need P.O. box. Okay, so first the P.O. box is Garden Like a Viking at P.O. box 9101. Garden Like a Viking, P.O. box 9101, Fort Wayne, Indiana 46899. That's right. See, I remembered it. That is the P.O. box. You can send whatever you want, and I appreciate everything, guys. I appreciate that. And if you want me to open it up on live, then just put open on live, and I can do that. That would be great. And the answer to the question is, in Indiana, you will start about the last week of January, the first week of February, give or take. Because onions are one of the few things that we can just trim, we can just keep trim and trim and trim. So it doesn't matter. We want them to be nice and thick and stout. So if you watch my short that I made on Instagram, it has like 4 million views on Instagram, the onion thing with the board method. The onion, you want the slips to be as thick as possible. And the way to do that is to start them early. So last week of January, first week, it's pretty much the first thing that the first thing you start is the onions. Because then we're gonna plant them out into the garden, depending on the year, but for the most part, we'll start them the last week of January to plant out into the garden the 20th of February, 420. So, let's see here. And yeah, thank you, Lisa T. Thank you for putting that in print. Mobius says, Nate, worm castings sprinkled around plants like herbs, now and or in spring, both. Worm castings are, I mean, if you're making them yourself, then yeah, you can do them now. But if you're like buying them or something, then it's best if you just do it in the springtime, because they don't need to break down. So if you have like chicken manure, put it on now. If you have cow manure, any of the manures you can put on now, and that will slowly break down over the season and become plant available. The worm castings will break down so fast, and because they're already mostly broken down and plant available. And so they will leach out and stuff. You're not, it's too soon. Unless you're in an area where you're gonna grow them. Okay, Mobius, you grew them yourself. Okay, now I would just stockpile them and use them heavily in the springtime. Unless you're in an area where you're going to be growing over the winter, for the most part, it's not gonna do anything. And so it would be a waste of such a precious resource, concentration of resource. What would be better is if you stockpiled them, and then when I release the aerated compost tea videos in the spring, you will see how to utilize them big time. And so you can utilize them as one of the many components in the aerated compost teas. Some people will say my compost tea is too complicated and all that stuff, and that's fine. But you know, whatever, guys. That's all I used this year, and I had phenomenal results. That's all he used here was a handful of the aerated compost teas from the recipes that I've given him, and he's had phenomenal results. And although with the green manure crop, base fertility is most important. Remember that. The base fertility, what you put into the soil, is the most important. And if you do it right, you don't even need any additional fertility, really. Claude L says, what's up, Nate? Can you use the JDOM sulfur in tropical climates where it gets very hot? I personally don't have first-hand experience with doing that, although theoretically I know that you can, because most of KNF and JDOM is for sort of more tropical type areas. So where they're growing like sugar cane and stuff like that, and fruits, where you're growing a lot of fruits and stuff. You don't really grow a lot of fruits up north. So, yeah, I'm gonna say definitely, theoretically, definitely. And I know JDOM, a lot of people doing it, using it in tropical climates. I know it works, but not from first-hand experience. So I don't know for sure that it does. So I just have to say that. Yes. And so Mick says, I'm so excited about the compost tea videos. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good next year. You're gonna love it. And thinking some more. Okay, yes, we saw that masterclass on onions. Yeah, I should do that. The masterclass on onions. We can do that. I used the board method this year, guys, and it was incredibly useful, because one of the biggest problems with people in their onions is they're planting them too deep. I see it all the time. They want to bury them, and then the bulb needs to be able to expand. And now a lot of people will have a different result. You know, they'll say, oh, my onions were kind of buried and they did just fine. Well, okay. I'm not sure what your definition of just fine is, for one. It's probably different than my definition. And also, it's not a de facto, it's not 100% rule. But what I see is that people bury them too deeply, and the onion will not bulb as big. And you'll get these ping pong size ball onions. So what you want to do is have it planted in such a way that the roots go into the earth, but the bulb sits mostly up top. And so that was very laborious, planting every one like that for several years. But then past couple of years, I come up with the board method, where it's nice. You just set the boards out, and then we just lay the onions down like that, and then cover with compost. After a few weeks, the onions are established. You remove the boards and put grass clippings there instead. And what happens is that you remove the boards, and then you water it, and the compost kind of falls down, and so you're left with the onion that is literally sitting at ground level. So watch the short that I made about the onions, and you will see that they work. It works really well. That's the method I'm going to recommend for most people. Val says, my onions were planted too deep. Got baby ping pong ball onions. That's right. Donald Hughes, is it time to pull sweet potatoes? Yes. Yes. Pretty much time to pull sweet potatoes. I forget exactly where you're at, but what zone are you in, Don? I don't think that, yeah, I mean, unless you're anywhere in the tropics or like in Florida or something like that, No. As soon as I go back home, I'm pulling them all out. As soon as I go back home, I'm pulling them all out, yes. But the good thing is that, so I'll just tell you guys right here, that the good way that I found to cure the sweet potatoes, there's two ways. Utilizing what we already have. And so you can harvest the sweet potatoes, and then I used to just put them in the back of my vehicle so they get hot, you know? But that requires you harvesting them while it's still a little bit hot. But if it's not, so what I did last year, and will be doing the rest of the time that I'm harvesting sweet potatoes, is so there's two, you make a chamber instead, indoors. And so there's two ways you can do it, and I did it, so I did it last year. One way is you can take the seedling heat mat that we use to start up the seedlings, you lay it out, set it at about 85 degrees, 90 degrees, set it about 90 degrees, put the sweet potatoes in a tote on top of that, and put like a fabric towel over it so that it can breathe a bit, and that is, gonna be adequate. That's gonna keep them nice and warm and humid, but not going to make them mold. So you don't want to put the top on the tote. You could get some mold. So I put a blanket over the top, and it works perfectly good. Another way you can do it if you don't have the seedling mat, and another way that works great is, listen, this is how I used to start mushrooms way back in the day. Way back. We're talking 20 years ago now. But I used to start it this way. They called it, I learned it, it's called the PF Tech. And so, but it works just perfectly fine as well. So you take a big tote, like a big tote, and you fill it with about 8 inches of water, and then you put another one of the exact same totes inside of that. But before you do that, you put the aquarium heater that we used for making the J-Don stuff. We put that aquarium heater into the water of the first tote. So you have your first tote, fill it 8 inches of water, 6 to 8 inches of water, put the aquarium heater set at 85 or 90, and then put the other tote on top of that. And it's going to float. You have to have it float a bit. It has to come in contact with the water. And then you put the sweet potatoes all in there. And that is going to keep the whole thing nice and warm. That is actually more effective at keeping the area nice and warm. And so those are the two good methods. So you don't have to rely on putting them in the back of the car anymore. So that is the way. Okay. Scott Miller says, love the clay soil prep video. Perfect for Georgia red clay. Oh, definitely. That is perfect for it. Aram's says, I don't know my zone. Should be around 6 or 7. Where are you at? Claude says, I'm from Massachusetts, zone 5. Okay. Donald, South Bend. Okay. South Bend. So yes, harvest the sweet potatoes. Harvest the sweet potatoes. Big West says, I didn't water my lawn from June till September. Man, were you getting rain? I would hope so. Because our lawns are just brown. Totally brown. Let's see here. Kim says, I used the sulfur this year. Very humid summer. Great results. Okay, so there you go. Kim is in Tunisia, so it's very warm there and humid. Says you get the sulfur. She's used the sulfur, so that's great. Okay, Aram, not from the USA. Okay. Well, you can type it in. You can just say, what agriculture zone am I in? South Bend. Okay, Don says, South Bend, can you lay the sweet potatoes out in the greenhouse? You can, yes, but you want to keep them covered. You can put them in the greenhouse, but keep them from the sunlight. So put like a old military blanket or like a moving blanket or some kind of thing over them. Something that can breathe, but that keeps the light away from them. William Slater says, weird question. What purpose do pottery shards serve in a terra preta setup like the Amazon? Well, it's hard to say for sure exactly, and everybody's all into the terra preta Amazonian type stuff. But again, we have to understand that people will utilize what is right for them in their setting. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the tropical settings, the tropical like rainforest and stuff, it actually doesn't hold on to as much organic matter as more temperate rainforest, because everything decomposes so quickly that the nutrients actually can be leached out and go away so much, very fast. So it's actually very different. And so they would probably utilize that as a form of biochar. I mean, they also use the biochar, I know that. But they would use it as a way to buffer, because it would absorb water. It would become nice and wet. It would absorb water and nutrients and maybe urine and stuff when they would charge it or whatever, I don't know. And that would buffer the nutrients and the water. So that's probably why, I would say, although I don't know for sure. And so is that going to produce the same results or be necessary in every area? No. Like that wouldn't be as necessary where I'm at, where we get mostly, historically, we've gotten sufficient rainfall that we don't have to actually even irrigate the crops, except for the past couple of years has been very difficult. But I would say that's what it's for. Yeah, and it makes sense if you're in an area like that. So you would need it to hold on to the boom bust cycles of the water and of the nutrients. Wayne Caroli says, more rain in Massachusetts today. Yeah, isn't New York really getting a lot of rain? Like in the flooding way? This is what I've heard. Yes, Lily, thank you, everybody. Make sure you hit that like button, of course, because we want to get more and more people in the tribe. Scott Miller says, Abram, the Amish of Ohio use cow manure with amazing results. Oh, cow manure is fantastic. Fantastic. Mobius says, my tomatoes are still ripening. Don't forget to make gazpacho. So good for us. Yes, I need to get the right... Someone, maybe it was you, sent me the recipe for that. I need to get the right recipe. Big West says, the object is to have self-de-thatching and green lawn. It stayed green. It said Grenba summer, Nate. Okay, yeah, so it stayed green throughout the summer. Yes. My lawn is I'm kind of up on a hill, and so it is just bone dry. The front lawn, the whole entire back turned into just every square inch is a garden, growing food. But the front, you have to kind of keep, you have to kind of make it look like it's like everybody else does. Even though I got tons of flowers out front and stuff, but I got two tiny little patches of lawn. And that just gets bone dry, and I'm not going to water it or anything. And TC says, what kind of sweet potatoes do you recommend to grow up here in Zone 4, Alaska? I've never grown them here. I don't think it was warm enough. It's definitely going to be warm enough if you start them right. And you're going to want to choose the what is the Georgia Jets? That's what you're going to want to choose. Those are the fastest growing of all the sweet potatoes. So you'll want to choose the Georgia Jets and get them sent to you in plenty of time and planted at just the right time. If you really want to do it, you could make a hoop house over them. So for in the beginning of the season, after your last frost, of course, you can make a hoop house over them to really get that daytime temperature up high, because they will love, sweet potatoes love blazing hot. They don't mind it. Don says, pick Tahitian melons and leave in the yard or put in greenhouse for 2 weeks. Yes, and they turn, definitely. And, okay. Big West says, the general thing for everyone that keeps it simple is sphagnum peat moss for moisture retention, lowers pH a tiny bit, and covers soil. There you have it. All right, TC says, all right, awesome. Yes, okay. All right, if anybody has any burning questions, we need to get them out, because we are nearing the end, and we are going to go out there and we are going to get to work building the greenhouse and doing all kinds of things. Jason says, use the tote with aquarium heater for my mushrooms last winter. They weren't magic. Yeah, I understand. But yeah, it works really well. I mean, it just creates a nice ambient heat that is a nice ambiance, I was gonna say. So, all right, guys. Yeah, so I'm glad we got to connect, even though I was on the road. This is all good. It's good checking in with you guys. If you guys want to talk about some other things, some spiritual things, some health and well-being, some mindset, and all this other good kind of stuff, we do a live on the Thrive Like a Viking channel every Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Where we do all of that. We're getting into cold training and all that stuff. It's almost time for the cold training, which is great. So, and also with the gardening stuff, guys, now is the time. Don't think that the season is over. You want to be making the stuff, doing the stuff now that is going to benefit you next year. Now is when you prepare for next year's abundance. You don't start in the springtime. You actually start now, which is very important. And Mick, $20. Thank you very much, my friend, for the consistent support. I appreciate that. It says, thank you for the sulfur recipe. Our neighborhood had gotten fungus that affects trees. My neighbor lost his 30-year-old maple, but I was able to save my apricot tree just by spraying with the sulfur. Nice. Just by spraying with the sulfur. Sounds good. Thanks for sharing that so everybody else can hear that. And yeah, so we are going to get busy, guys. And check out the Garden Like a Viking Instagram. Check out the Garden Like a Viking Facebook. And leave me some love in the comments. And we will see you guys next time.